Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well today. We are going to go over how to connect your React app to your Express app, specifically just connecting your front end to your back end. And we're going to use React and Express here, and I'm going to show you how we can make an API call to our backend and get a response. So let's jump right into Visual Studio Code and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to get started with our server side first. So I'm going to create a server directory here, and I'm going to cd into server. So first thing we're going to do is npm init to create our package.json, and I'm going to do -y. So once we have our package.json, you can see this here. So let's install our Express app. So we're going to install Express, and we're going to install a couple other packages too to help us out. It's going to be nodemon and .env. I'm going to show you guys how to set up hot reloading if you guys aren't familiar with it. I'm sure you guys are, but it's really good for development. So we're going to install this as a dev dependency. So we can do --save -dev. Okay, so you can see here nodemon is a dev dependency. So the next thing we're going to install is .env. And this is for anything that you want to store and don't want to push to your repository, like local environment variables, like port numbers, API keys, passwords, etc. Okay, so I think that's all we need for our Express app. And I'm going to now back out of this directory, and we are going to create our React app package. So we're going to say npx create React app, and we're just going to call this client. Okay, so in our package.json, let me just kind of minimize this a little. Okay, so our main, I'm going to set it as app.js, and in our server, we're going to create a app.js file. Okay, first thing we're going to do is require Express, and then we're going to require .env. Okay, and then we are going to create a variable called app that we'll call Express. Now I'm going to create a .env file. So inside the server directory, .env, and in here we can simply just say port, and we're going to say 5000. And that's all we're going to have in here, but you can have your API keys, your database username, passwords. So now, in order to grab that port number, all we need to do here is say .env, .env.config. Then we can just grab our port number like this. So we can say port is equal to process.env.port. Okay, so now that's set up. Let's start our Node.js server. So, Express server, app.listen. We're going to send in the port here, and it's just going to have a callback. And we can just console.log this callback. We can just say server is running. And just to show you that we're getting the port number, I'll just log the port. Okay, so while that's installing, we'll wait for that, and I'll come back to this. Alright guys, we have React installed now. So let's finish up our backend. So in our backend, let's run the server. So I'm going to cd into the server directory. Okay, and I'm going to lift this up a little, and I'm going to say nodemon app. Okay, so you can see the server is running at port 5000. Excuse my, yeah, there you go. Okay, so now let's set up some routes. So we'll have our basic route, and here I'm just gonna have in the callback, it's gonna be a request response, and I'm gonna just have it fully typed out. Response. And we're just going to do response.send hello world, just to make sure that it's working. and I have my window browser open here, and I'm going to just say localhost 5000. Okay, it's working. So we're not going to even use this route, so I'm just going to delete it. So we're going to say app.get, and let's say get data. Let's do it like this: get data, request, response, and we're going to send back some JSON. So we can say response.json, and we can send back an object here. So we're going to send back, let's see, name, and then Bob. Let's do age, and let's do 27. And we'll just do 1 for now. Okay, and I'm going to test it real fast and make sure that it works. Cool. So now I'm going to create one more. I'm going to show you how to do a get route and a post. So if we want to make a fetch post call, I'll show you how to do that. So let's do something like /create, and then request, response, and we're going to console.log the request body here. And in order to see what's coming in, we need to use something like, we need to do something like this with app.use, and we need to tell it to say express.json is, and then we also need to have here app.use express.url encoded. It's going to take an object, extended is set to false. So you need these two things to be able to see the request body. And then we can just do response.json success equal to true. Okay, so that's it for our backend for now. Let's jump into the React side. So I'm going to minimize the server and go into the client, and in our source I'm going to open up app.js, and I'm going to open up another terminal here, and I'm going to just say I'm going to cd into client and then run npm run start, and I'm going to delete some of this boilerplate code. We don't need it, and I'm just going to say hello world here so we have something outputted for now, and then we can make our fetch calls. So here, let's make sure. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's make a fetch call. And before we do that, in order for this to work, in our package.json here, for our development purposes, we need to add a proxy. So we need to say proxy, and then we're going to add it HTTP, and it's going to be our route to our backend, localhost 5000 /, and that's all you need. And now you can make fetch calls to your backend. So here we can say get data, then we'll get a promise. So we're going to get a response converted to JSON, and then we're going to get the data, and we can just console.log this data. Okay, let's see. All right, guys, to get this route to work, after we change the proxy added the proxy in the package.json, we need to run npm run start again to get that to take effect, and then we can see our fetch call. So I'm just going to let it restart. Okay, and then in our console, you can see we got an object back of Bob and the age. So if we wanted to, we can display this out here. So here we can say, let's store it into state. So I'm just going to call useState, and we can just store it here. So const data, and then set data, useState, and default will just be an empty object. Okay, and then here we're just going to display data.name and data.age. and then we're going to store the state in here. So we're going to say set data, yep. It's kind of confusing. Should probably pick better names. So you see Bob and the age. So let's put a break here. Okay, cool. So that's how you do a get call to your backend here. And now let's do a post. So the post is a little bit more involved. So we're going to make a fetch call as well. We're going to do /create. Then we'll get a so before we get to the promise, we are going to have to send in a headers and the body and what type. Meaning, are we going to do a get request or a post request? So in here, we can say headers. So in the headers, we can say content type, and it's going to be application/JSON, and that's it. And then we're going to send in the body. So the body is basically the data that you want to send in. So anytime you send in the body like this, you want to use json.stringify. It'll convert it to JSON, and then you want to send in an object. So here we're going to send in the name Bob as well, and we'll set the age as 27 as well. Okay, so we're going to send that to our backend, and I think that's all we need. Oh, we also need to mention the HTTP request type. So we're going to say type, and it's going to be post. Okay, so, oh, sorry, it's not going to be type, it's going to be method. Okay, so in our method, we'll say post, and then we're going to get a promise back now. So we're going to say response.json. Oh, we need to have the response here. There we go. And then let me put this on the next line. We'll have one more. This is where we get we can get the data, and we're just going to console.log this. And I'm going to just erase this for now. So as you can see, let's go back to the first terminal, that we got the post request from our front end. So if I refresh this, you can see we got Bob and the age. And then you can see in our response, we got success is true. And you can also check for your network calls. So anytime you make a call to your backend, you can check the network, and you can see what we sent in the body right here, which is our payload. And then in the response, you can see what we got back. So this was meant to be a super short tutorial, and I hope you guys learned something from this. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.